You just applied to a place that officially doesn't exist. It's a quiet Tuesday on a street with more oak trees than houses. You seal the envelope, walk it to a mailbox that hasn't been repainted in a decade, and drop it in without looking back. Not on paper, not for the first 5 years after it was created. Longtime employees have a nickname for it. No such agency. Half joke, half warning. It was created in 1952 by a presidential order the government didn't publicly confirm existed until 1957. 5 years of a federal agency existing entirely off the books. You're 23. You don't know yet that the background check alone will outlast some marriages. You don't know that in 34 years, you'll retire from a career you were never legally allowed to describe out loud. Not even at your own dinner table. Right now, you just want the job. Level 1. The applicant. You're 23 years old. This year, 12,000 people apply for the position you want. Fewer than 1 in 5 make it past the paperwork. A background investigator calls your college roommate, your ex-girlfriend, the neighbor who never liked your dog. They ask about your finances, your drinking, every country you've set foot in since you were 16. They even track down a professor you argued with in a seminar 9 years ago, just to ask if you handled losing an argument well. By the time anyone schedules your interview, your file runs past 600 pages, most of it written by people who've never met you. Then comes the polygraph. 2 examiners, 1 windowless room, exactly 10 feet by 10 feet. No clock on the wall. The same 3 questions, asked 4 different ways, while a needle draws a line about your life that you're not allowed to see. One examiner tells you, flatly, that most people fail this step not because they're lying, but because they're too nervous about telling the truth. Somewhere in this building, a parking ticket from 2019 gets exactly as much scrutiny as a hypothetical act of treason. Nobody laughs about that part out loud. The whole process takes 11 months. You spend most of that year refreshing an inbox that never says anything back. That's level 1. Level 2. Badge day. You drive through a checkpoint built with concrete barriers rated to stop a truck doing 60 miles an hour. Before you reach your desk, you drop your phone into a locker outside a door with no windows. Not your phone, not your supervisor's, not anyone's. Nothing with a camera or a microphone gets past this hallway. Your badge is blue. Blue means you're allowed in the building. It doesn't mean you're allowed to know much of anything yet. Nobody officially tells you how many people work here. The agency has never once, in its entire history, released a public headcount. You're one line in a number nobody outside these walls will ever see written down. For years, the state highway maps simply left this exit unmarked. The road just stopped existing for half a mile, then quietly started again. The orientation video says the agency's actual name exactly once. After that, people just call it the fort, or they don't call it anything at all. You ask a coworker which floor handles cryptology. She looks at you the way people look at someone asking where the gold is kept. You'll spend a career learning that the real org chart is invisible, and the one on the wall is mostly for tour groups that never come. That's level 2. Level 3. The desk. Headphones on 12 hours a day. Some weeks, 14. You listen to intercepted communication in a language you spent 2 years learning at a facility most Americans couldn't find on a map. One of more than 100 languages taught on that campus. Most of them to rooms of 6 students or fewer. You get paid to notice the half-second pause before someone lies. Your quota is measured in finished reports, not hours worked. A 6-minute report might take you 6 months to fully understand. Somebody 2 desks over has spent 3 weeks transcribing what might be a weather complaint, or might be a code for something else. Nobody's sure yet. That's the job. Patience. Dressed up as intelligence work. This floor has no windows either. You stop noticing what the weather is outside. Somewhere around year 2, your own voice starts to sound slightly foreign to you. In the quiet moments between shifts. That's level 3. The watch keeps ticking either way. Level 4. You get read into your first program. A name, a color code, a folder that, legally, does not exist anywhere outside one vault in this building. Your badge changes again. Fewer people in this hallway can look at you now and actually know what you do all day. On some programs, fewer than 50 people in the entire government are read in at all. Your spouse asks how work was. You say, fine. You've said, fine, for 4 straight years. And it hasn't gotten easier to mean it. The agency trusts you with signals collected from the other side of the planet. And still won't let you carry a phone into the bathroom on this floor. Trust here has a very specific shape. And it doesn't look like the word. That's level 4. Level 5, 14 years in, they make you a branch lead. Your pay crosses 6 figures for the first time. From the low 80s to just past 110,000. GS-13, they call it internally. Like a rank in an army nobody's allowed to name out loud. You manage 9 people who each remind you of exactly who you used to be. A mortgage broker asks what you do for a living. You say, analyst. She asks for whom. You say, the government. And change the subject before she can ask a second question. Your kids know you go to the fort. They don't know what happens after the gate. Neither, some days, do you. Not in any way you're allowed to say out loud, even to yourself in the mirror. That's level 5. Level 6. More clearance means more access. And more access means something nobody in this building says out loud. Eventually, someone ends up with more than they need. You catch your reflection in the dark screen. The scar above your eyebrow. Same as it's been since before any of this started. Some parts of you are still just a person. As a systems administrator on this floor, you can move files most analysts don't even know exist. One login, one person, no second signature required. Not yet. You could copy an entire server's contents onto a device smaller than your thumb in under 4 minutes. And no alarm would go off anywhere in this building. The safeguard everyone assumes exists here. The one you assumed existed when you first got the badge. Simply doesn't, not for another few years. Somewhere on this floor, right now, someone is looking at that exact same access. And making a very different decision than you are. You won't know his name for another 6 years. Neither will anyone else in this building. Not yet. That's level 6. Level 7. 6 years later. You finally get a name to go with the decision that was made 2 desks over. A contractor with the exact same kind of systems access copies more classified material than the agency has lost in its entire history. An amount later estimated in the hundreds of thousands of documents. That contractor walks out of the building with almost none of it noticed for months. You find out with everyone else. Standing in the break room. Coffee going cold in your hand. Watching a television bolted to the wall that's usually kept off. Someone mutes it out of habit before anyone processes what's actually on the screen. A woman 2 years from retirement just stares at it. Nobody says anything for almost a full minute. When the documents surface publicly, this place that officially didn't exist for its first 5 years becomes the most discussed government address on Earth. For an entire news cycle, Congress holds closed-door hearings that run longer than most congressional sessions. Your director testifies in public for the first time in years, choosing every word like it's being weighed on a scale somewhere. Reporters use words like surveillance and overreach. Your director uses words like damage assessment. You use almost no words at all, because you've spent your whole career legally unable to explain what you do. And now you're watching strangers explain it badly on a muted TV instead. Nobody on this floor sleeps much that year. Trust. Once you actually watch it break. turns out to have a weight to it, heavier than anyone here expected. Within 18 months, the agency's internal security budget triples. An entire new office gets built almost overnight, one whose only job, from now on, is watching people exactly like you. That's level 7. The watch keeps ticking either way. Level 8. Nothing moves alone anymore. After that year, no single person can touch the most sensitive systems by themselves again. Every action needs 2 badges, 2 logins, 2 people willing to put their name next to yours. It's policy within months, after decades of the old way working exactly once too rarely. Your own badge, the one that used to just get you through a door, now logs every file you've ever opened, cross-checked twice a year against your own bank statements. The agency spent decades building tools to watch the rest of the world. Now a good portion of that same machinery watches you back. You, specifically, by name. Some people on this floor still say the old system worked fine for 40 years. Right up until the 1 year it didn't. Other people say it never really worked at all. It just hadn't been noticed yet. Nobody agrees. Nobody says so above a whisper. Coworkers start leaving their badges face down on their desks. An old habit nobody quite explains. But everyone eventually picks up. It takes almost 10 years before that particular flavor of suspicion in a hallway starts to feel normal again. That's level 8. Level 9. You brief people whose decisions move entire countries. And none of them will ever say your name in public. 32 years in, you're one of maybe 200 people cleared to see a category of information before certain elected officials do. You've briefed rooms that later show up on the news with everyone in them blurred out except the podium. Rooms where one sentence of yours can shift a foreign policy decision made an hour later. 3 floors above your pay grade. One of your assessments, years earlier, helped decide whether a strike happened at all. You will never see that connected to your name in any book, any documentary, any obituary. You are, by now, exactly the kind of person that 23-year-old in the waiting room could never have imagined becoming. Invisible, essential, and permanently unable to prove either one. Your grandchildren ask what you did at work for 30 years. You tell them you read a lot of government mail. It's not a lie. It's just not the whole shape of the truth. It never will be. That's level 9. Level 10. You hand back the badge. Somewhere along the way, the state quietly adds your exit back onto the highway maps. Nobody announces it. You just notice, one day driving home, that the road is finally allowed to exist again. 34 years, and there's no retirement slideshow. Because most of the slides would still be classified. There's a folded flag, a quiet handshake, and a form confirming you'll keep certain secrets for the rest of your life. And, technically, past it. The building you mailed an application to still doesn't fully exist on paper. In a very real sense, neither does most of your career. Whatever gets declassified in 50 years. Your grandkids will read it and learn more about your job in one afternoon than you were ever legally allowed to tell them yourself. You think, sometimes, about the mailbox on that quiet street. About a kid who just wanted a job. This is the climb. Somewhere right now, on a kid's wrist, a Casio F91W is ticking. He just mailed an application to a place that, on paper, doesn't exist. He doesn't know yet what he's trading for the badge. He doesn't know what 34 years of, I can't talk about it, costs a marriage. A friendship, a Sunday dinner nobody else gets to hear about, and a version of himself his own grandchildren will only ever half know. He'll find out the same way everyone else did. One level at a time.